I'm Peter Davis, a mixed martial artist, and I know what it takes to dominate in a fight. Yet when it comes to my kids, I prefer to let them roll with the punches. But across Asia, there is a multi-billion-dollar industry that promises to make our kids smarter,
isosceles triangle,
stronger,
take out the fear from you, Mia.
and more successful.
Are you sure that you know what you're doing? Don't drive too fast.
Ready, jump!
They're like this tall, and they're pretty good.
And that starts even before they turn 3.
Have I missed out on the opportunity of a lifetime to make my kids super? You've got to focus, I told you before.
Don't give me that look.
In this episode, I learn about a period of unsurpassed brain growth in our lives.
Imagine this room is a baby's brain, and these are neuron and synapses.
The first 3 years of the baby's life is the most crucial year of stimulation.
Experts say that during this time, whatever a baby eats, feels, and hears influences their intelligence. As some parents go all out to unlock their child's potential.
Has she got a photographic memory yet? Yes.
I find out if going the extra mile actually makes any difference at all.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
How to raise a super smart baby.
Baba.
Humans. We're at the top of the food chain. The apex predator. The most intelligent species. Yet, in the first few years of our lives, we are way behind other animals when it comes to visible development. Dolphins are born able to swim. Within hours, cattle can walk. As for dogs, they can walk by 3 weeks old.
Look at their feet. Look at the feet. That's cute.
They aren't just super cute, they're also super smart.
So these puppies are 8 weeks old. What can they do?
Oh, they can do a lot of things. They are able to run, they are able to jump, they are able to hop, and they can learn basic commands like sit, roll over, they can start their toilet training.
And 8 weeks, I remember that my kid would pretty much lie down on the floor but wouldn't have the functionality of his arms and legs, and not quite as active as this little puppy.
There are some puppies who are really fast, they will start testing authority.
It's much easier to read than a human baby, I'd say.
8-week-old, yes.
8 weeks old compared directly to 8 weeks
Correct.
old.
They can communicate, you see, they can play very well, they can express their interest to play with you, and they show by shaking their tails, they show by wanting to bite you.
At 8 weeks, human babies can smile, move their arms and their legs. And that's about it. They can't even crawl. In fact, they don't even start to walk properly until they're a year old. Why do humans physically develop so much slower than other animals? I decided to check with Professor Stacey Tay. You could say she's quite the expert on the development of a baby's brain. Compared to other animals, babies just don't seem to develop their motor skills as quickly. Does that mean that human babies are not so smart?
So the difference between an animal and a human is really what is necessary for survival, especially within the first few hours or even the first few days of being born. An animal actually needs to be able to feed very, very soon without any help. And therefore, it makes sense for an animal to be able to get up from the ground and find the mom to suckle and to feed. Whereas for a human, fortunately, we have moms that are able to carry, take care of, and to look after the child. And although for a baby, it looks like nothing much is happening on the outside, there are systems that are being put in step by step on the inside that is allowing the complexity to develop over a period of time.
So, while human babies develop much slower physically, their brains are actually developing faster than any other animal on the planet. In fact, in the first 3 years of their life, it is the period where their brain develops the most in size and complexity. No wonder the first 3 years, the first 1,000 days, are often referred to as the golden window of opportunity. How important are the first 1,000 days of brain development for a baby?
The brain is still making connections and strengthening connections, and therefore the brain is very, very receptive to learning experiences. During this period, it is the foundation for the way you learn in the future as well.
Imagine this room is a baby's brain, and these are neuron and synapses, the bulbs being the neurons and the wires in between the synapses. Neurons are nerve cells that power our brains. In order for us to function, they need to pass information to each other. They don't physically touch, so they send messages by firing them to each other at points called synapses. Newborn babies have approximately 100 billion neurons. What needs to happen next is for synapses to form and create a network of connected neurons. By simply interacting with the child, such connections are made.
Don't eat it, Sushi.
Our brain is a system, and for it to be efficient, irrelevant connections need to be removed, whilst reinforcing important ones. After birth, a baby's brain growth depends critically on the quality of what he eats. Or should I say drink? Nutrition plays a particularly big role. Breast milk contains loads of good stuff for our babies, including fatty acids like DHA, ARA, and proteins that are known brain boosters. But often, mothers have to supplement breast milk with infant formula. And the infant formula business is big business. In 2015, the world bought $47 billion worth of formula milk. That's more than what it spent on tea and instant coffee. And premium brands that can cost up to $50 each dominate the industry. When my second child was born 3 years ago, I was shocked by how expensive milk powder was. 900 grams, $70. Super premium infant formula. Today, the prices have jumped up even more.
Adults.
Oh look, I've struck gold. Mammal gold. Pre-C Nutri Plus. Must be good for you, right? Because it's 71 Sing dollars. Singapore is one of the most expensive places in the world to buy baby milk formula. It's almost double the price here compared to India, Australia, and the UK. In the past 10 years, formula milk prices have increased by a whopping 120%. But that's just the premium brands. There are also cheaper brands that can cost a third of the price. Now, I've been walking around and I've noticed this sign, and it states that all infant formula sold in Singapore, regardless of brand, has enough nutrients to keep your baby healthy. So that means that they're all the same. Then why is there such a vast difference in price, from 25 Sing dollars to 70? I emailed some infant formula companies to find out why. One company responded to my email. Nature One, a local brand that entered the market last August. With a 900-gram tin costing less than $23, half of what some other brands cost, they're one of the cheapest brands out there. Why are their prices so low?
Right, So, Nick, this is your product, and it's new to the market, but you've managed to come in at almost half the price of some of your competitors.
I think one of the most important things is that Nature One Dairy is not only a brand, but actually a manufacturer. So by manufacturing the product and actually being the exporter, the importer into Singapore, we've been able to keep all those costs to an absolute minimum.
And I've noticed on some of your competitors' products, they have a lot of claims and promises, whereas your packaging doesn't have it. So does your product lack those abilities for your baby?
Point of view as far as from a nutritional perspective, no. We have DHAs, we've got our RAs. In fact, in some cases, ours are higher than some of the competitors. So from that perspective, no.
In many milk powder commercials, some ingredients get special mentions, like DHA and ARA. These are brain-boosting ingredients found in breast milk. But while the amount of protein, fat, vitamins and minerals in formula milk are regulated, there are no rules on how much DHA or ARA manufacturers can add. Now, the amount of DHA varies across brands, ranging from 50 to 100 milligrams. Hold up. Do all these DHAs really make a difference? Or is it all hype? Dr. Natalie Epton is a mother of 3 and a strong advocate for breastfeeding. Do DHAs in infant formula really make a difference?
So far, the evidence suggests no. There's a group called the Cochrane Group, and their meta-analysis shows that adding DHA to formula does not seem to confer any benefit.
When I was looking at different baby formulas, essentially they've all got different levels of DHAs.
Unfortunately, nobody knows what the optimal level of DHA in formula is. When we are looking at the amount of DHA in formula, we try and extrapolate how much DHA is in breast milk, and that also can change depending on which region of the world you're from and what your diet is like. So we know that the amount of DHA in the breast milk of a woman in a Western country may be very, very different to the amount of DHA in the breast milk of a woman in an Asian country.
So, is it really necessary to add DHA into formula milk? And if a baby is fed a formula that doesn't have DHAs, will they be dumber?
Number one, we know that babies after the age of 33 weeks are actually capable of making and manufacturing their own DHA.
Yeah, right.
Also, we know that when DHA occurs in breast milk, it also occurs with the enzyme that's able to break that down and utilize it in the body. So getting DHA with the enzyme that can make it usable by the body seems to be beneficial. Getting DHA without the enzyme, nobody knows whether that's actually worthwhile doing or not.
So while there is no harm in adding DHAs to infant milk powder, there is also no conclusive evidence that more DHA will lead to better brain development in babies. Meanwhile, as part of efforts to fight milk powder price woes, new brands of milk powder that are about half the price of more popular ones have recently been introduced. But are parents willing to make the switch?
If, for example, brand A had a basic and a gold standard baby milk powder, which would you go for and why?
I will go for the expensive one. Because as all parents believe that the more expensive, the better is for the baby, right?
I mean, it's your child. I mean, you're going to spend the money anyway. So you might as well go for, if you have to choose, you want to choose something that you feel like, you know, it's a better option.
I do understand that most of the brands the quality and the formulas are more or less the same, but just more comfortable getting a more expensive one, I guess.
Having spoken to a few parents, it is clear that they want to give their kids the best that money can buy. And we often equate price with quality. It's no wonder that in 2015, 95% of the formula milk bought were the more expensive ones.
Luckily, brain development doesn't come from nutrition alone, or I'd be about as smart as one of these potato crisps. Experts suggest that any experience you share with your baby will shape their brain.
I wonder how far parents will go in order to create new experiences for their children.
Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba.
Have you ever wondered what your baby can see from her crib? Or whether she can hear your phone ring?
So your brain works to understand what is around you by combining different information from all of your senses.
Like us, babies experience the world through 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste and smell. And in turn, everything that they see, touch, hear, taste and smell shapes their brain.
Prefrontal cortex. Perfect. When a baby is born, all of its senses are fully developed, except for one: their vision. This is what a baby sees. You only come into focus when you're about an arm's length away from their eyes. And in the first 4 months, they have trouble distinguishing between different colors. So toys and photos in black and white are best. Our 5 senses send information to our brains. These incoming pathways are one way, and they need to be stimulated.
For example, visual stimulation is so critical that if a baby is kept blindfolded, the visual center in their brains would never develop. Their optic nerve would shrivel up, and the baby would never be able to see. How do you visually stimulate a baby? Well, the stuff most parents do naturally. Playing peekaboo, having eye contact, installing a baby mobile in the crib. All of that's enough to improve the baby's sight. In the same way, all 5 senses should be engaged so that neural connections in the brain can develop. And one of the ways that this can be done is by bringing them to a playground where they can look, touch and feel different materials.
This is an amazing park, and the best thing is, it's free. And with so many other free facilities here in Singapore, it amazes me to find out that parents would be happy to spend up to 70 Sing dollars per hour for pretty much the same thing.
The babies here are only a few months old. Some can barely even sit up at all. And I'm not sure if they know this, but for the next 1 hour, their senses are gonna be super stimulated.
Say hello, everybody. Okay, so we're gonna start with those cards. Nice to see you. Say hello to the sun, shining down on me. I love the sun because the sun warms me. Sun, you can just articulate the last word. Say hello to the...
Welcome to Baby Sensory. At around $30 an hour, the class promises to work on all of your baby's 5 senses. This is because the founders of this class believe that stimulating the senses will accelerate the development of the child's brain.
Stroke them where there's exposed skin. Alright, that has to release the happy hormones of babies, and it actually helps also for them, they have to release stress. So I want your babies to climb on. We're going to have different textures and senses going on here. The eye muscles of the baby as they watch the snowman bounce on the floor, okay? So that will be a sensory exercise for them. Ooh! Shall we bounce it up first? Shall we bounce it up? Get the wind going.
Whilst it looks like they're just playing, watching the snowman bounce up and down is supposed to train the baby's eye and encourage imagination. This is the grand finale. As confetti, tinsel and bubbles fall, the different textures are meant to excite the baby's senses. It looks like a party, but everything has a purpose. This is supposed to train the baby's motor skills.
Do you see any intelligence levels increasing through your classes?
Yes, definitely. We realize that, you know, those babies that have gone through this program, they actually utter earlier. Like for example, we have some babies, they turn over the tummy earlier. We have babies that started our class since they're 5 days old. And for such babies, they are more advanced physically and emotionally as well.
Oh, you had a 5-day-old come to your class. I mean, isn't that a bit too young to start?
To me, nothing is early because the first 3 years of the baby's life is the most crucial year of stimulation.
Let's say I've got a 7-year-old kid that's gone to baby sensory classes versus a 7-year-old kid that hasn't gone to baby sensory classes. What would be the difference between them?
For the 7-year-old that would have gone through baby sensory, would have had earlier language development, earlier gross motor skills exposure, because they would have walked earlier. So because you walk earlier, you discover things earlier.
Cindy's son Alan started attending classes when he was 6 months old.
Would you say that this class would make your kids smarter? Has it made Alan smarter?
I can see that he's definitely more inquisitive and he's definitely more confident.
And all of the things that he's going to learn here, do you think it'll have any effect on his future progress? So when he does go into like standard 1, do you think he's going to have the edge, possibly?
I think one, he's definitely being in a classroom environment. He definitely is able to sit in the classroom and be part of the classroom and not be too disruptive. Yeah.
Is this the only class that Alan goes to?
He has one more class that he goes to. That's to develop right brain training. It's a different type of lesson altogether.
So we shall see everybody next week. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, everyone.
Wow, I've just finished a class and it was a complete sensory overload for me. But apparently it's not so for the babies. In fact, it's quite beneficial. I think I need to find out more about that.
But I wonder, are there other ways to get that precious sensorial stimulation, besides signing up for 10 weeks of baby sensory that could set you back $300 US? Professor Stacey Tay has been giving advice to parents about how they can raise their babies in a stimulating environment.
What kind of stimulation does a baby really need to develop?
So a child's development is best improved on by giving a child a full range of experiences, not just one kind of experience. If you wanted a child to be a musical genius, you would expose the child to music.
Yes.
But I wouldn't get the child to just do one kind of instrument. I would ask the child to experience different forms of music and also to do other things that would improve your fine motor skills, like even playing with Play-Doh. I would say that there's a lot in our environment that offers very, very rich experiences, and all these things are actually giving you a huge range of visual and auditory stimuli.
I think that most parents would be relieved to find out that what they're already doing, like going to the beach or taking a walk in the park, is already enough to excite the senses of a baby. But I'm intrigued by what one of the parents told me. She said that her son was going for something called right brain training.
He has one more class that he goes to. That's to develop right brain training.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it's going to make you super smart.
Ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba.
I'm on a quest to find out if things that claim to make our babies smarter are real.
There are many books here about how you can raise a smart baby yourself. This one suggests some ideas that you could try at home, so you don't need to go for extra lessons.
Earlier, I spoke to a parent.
Is this the only class that Alan goes to?
He has one more class that he goes to. That's to develop right brain training.
Right brain training. How is that good for our children? How is it possible to train only half of your brain?
I've been looking for some books on right brain training, but unfortunately, I haven't had much luck.
So it's out of the library and into the malls.
So 1 month old onwards, okay. I'm just looking for like some enrichment classes for my kids.
3 years old.
Do you have any for younger kids as well?
As young as 6 months old. From ages 6 months to 3 years old, actually very optimal time for right brain training because they can absorb information very fast at that age.
Right.
It appears that right brain training isn't uncommon, with over 30 centres in Singapore offering the Shatila method or Hegaru. It sounds confusing, but they are just different types of brands of right brain training from Japan. The average price of the class? $40 to $60 US.
Hello.
This is Hegaru Education Centre.
So, and we have a guest today here. Say hello to Peter. Hello, Peter. And let's say hello to our friends. Hello, friends. Hands on your stomach.
It's apparently won awards for boosting children's right brains.
Let's breathe out. And now you can breathe normally. All right, here you go.
Hegaru packs in over 40 activities within 60 minutes. And this is how it's done.
And after that, it's Thursday, everybody is sunny. We got 8th of February, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8th of February, Thursday. Really proper. Discretion is the greater part of valor. How time is it? Does it go clockwise? I do clockwise. It goes clockwise. We got 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 12 o'clock. The time now is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 39, 40, 41. The time now is 12:41 p.m. What's the time now? 12:41 p.m. Excellent.
By talking so fast, the teachers managed to cram in 3 items in under a minute.
Trapezium. Excellent. What is a trapezium? Which one? Which one? Excellent. Keep it up. From that, stimulation system, vegetable, aluminium, gold, copper, magnesium, tungsten, nickel, mercury, platinum, iron. Has of mice, amiga, pimenta, and steel, river, algae, wood, sulfur, doesn't make the bugs, macedonian. Making chili crab, hot pepper, beef, peanut oil, typical eggs, coriander, chili, candle, like a ketchup. Pig bread, banana bread, biscuit, carrot, corn, hot chocolate, mushroom, pumpkin,
I thought that I spoke quickly, but they were speaking on a different level, and the whole class was thrown at me at enormous speeds. Is that okay for babies? Do they actually pick anything up?
So unlike the left that is slower, the right side of the brain has this ability that's able to process information very fast. It has photographic memory function, as well as music and creativity.
Right.
So if you do an activity at normal speed, the baby is just using the left side of the brain. If you do it so fast, the left side cannot manage, so that's how the baby will actually turn on the right side of the brain to cope with the speed.
I got some rubber duckies over here. Shall we come together? This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Now can you tell me how many? 1. How many? 2. How many? 1. How many? 3. How many? 2. How many? 3. How many? 1. How many? 2. How many? 3. How many? 2. How many? 1. How many? 2. How many? 1. How many? 3. How many? 2. How many? 1. How many? 3. How many? 1. How many? 0. No more. Excellent.
According to proponents of right brain training, the 2 sides of the brain process information very differently. Our left brain is in charge of logic, reasoning, and language. It processes information slowly. Our right brain, on the other hand, handles creativity, memory, and processes information quickly.
Shuffle. Now how many shifts? Which one did you see over here? Okay, now Esther, which one? Just one. Which one did you see just now? Very good, Esther. Okay, which one? Very good. Which one? Very good, David. Which one did you see just now? Very good, Evan. Good. Okay, well done. Good.
Hegeru claims that right brain training from a tender age will build photographic memory, analytical thinking, and better concentration.
So, if we don't stimulate the right hemisphere of the brain, what happens?
After 3 years old, the development of the right brain will start to drop. For example, those abilities like photographic memory, the ability to process information very fast, creativity, even music, all these abilities will start to fade or diminish after 3 years old. If still left untrained, the right side of the brain will just become dormant. So there's this very short window from birth to 3 years old they need to maximize to fully stimulate the right side of the brain. After 3 years old, we have a different program that focuses more on the left side of the brain as well, like logical thinking, like analytical thinking as well.
Okay, I saw you hockey, go to the fashion, elbow grab every place. Famous sense, most of the principles of Switzerland, Buenos Aires, Methods of Australia, Los Continental of the United States of America. The alphabet is sign language A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. That's all about our silver flash this again. And now we're all...
I'm sure you get skeptics. What would you say to them?
Adults like us tend to be more skeptical because we always have this mental barrier. And what do I mean by this? In fact, children who are 3 years old and below, they don't have mental barrier. Don't have the concept of what is difficult, more difficult, most difficult. So from birth to 3 years old, that's the best time when we just input all sorts of information, regardless of difficulty, to the children.
Despite their skeptics, since starting in 2013, enrollment has increased over tenfold. And now they run over 100 classes for children 3 years and below every week.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Have you seen improvements with your older children after coming to Hegeru?
Yes, definitely. Like, yeah, especially my oldest boy. So he's in the preschool program now. I can see that his photographic memory is there. Example, like, you know, when we read a book, so he can remember like the pictures, like the details, like what color dress is the girl wearing, what color book is the girl holding on.
What are your goals in bringing her here?
Well, to open her right brain, you know, so that she can become more smarter, you know.
She's been coming for a few months. Has she got a photographic memory yet?
Yes.
She has?
Yes.
Why do you want to make her smarter?
I think every parents want their children to be smarter, right? So when she go to preschool, she's always ahead of someone, or ahead of the children.
I hope that he has a better memory that will help in his academic in future. Yeah, that's the more important thing.
Can a child's learning at 6 months old impact his later development? Well, I'm still not sure, so I'm going to put myself to a test by pitting myself against a 5-year-old.
Hello, how are you doing? So I hear that you are my competitor. What's your name?
Donna.
I'm Peter, nice to meet you. How long have you been coming to Hegeru?
From a baby to now.
Do you think you can beat me?
Yes.
Wow. Of course I'm going to win, because I'm much older and more intelligent. So I've got Teacher Paige here. One of the things that Hegeru will help you to do is to develop a photographic memory. Could you explain what I'm about to do?
We're going to have an activity called link memory. I will say a story twice for you to remember and say out all the keywords in order.
So I have to repeat back all the keywords in order.
Yes.
How many cards were there?
30.
Well, I mean, that should be easy, right? Because I, you know, memorize words every day. Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yes.
A llama drove a crane truck to pick up a triangular pyramid and put it on top of a castle that belonged to a strong sumo wrestler. Of a small hummingbird that flew through a gigantic yuri. One more time. A llama, a strong sumo wrestler, uses a washing machine and a fell jump into the sea. Yogurt, turtle, parachute, university, a telephone. Let's say all the cards in order.
Oh, gosh. First one. I think I had it a second ago. Gosh, really, number one?
It's an animal.
Oh. triangular pyramid, drives the crane, the triangular pyramid on top of the castle. Come on, what's the first one?
A llama.
What's the next card?
Crane shack. Triangular pyramid. Castle. Sumo wrestler. 81. Dice. Slide. Washing machine.
And in the washing machine there's a seahorse that is wearing a raincoat, and he's hot, so he jumps into the ocean, the sea. Yeah. And then, oh gosh. And there's purple coloured turtle.
There's one more card before purple. It's a food item.
Chocolate starfish. I don't know.
Yogurt. Purple. Turtle. Parachute. University. Telephone. Squirrel.
Squirrel had got ice cream at the Ferris wheel. No. The squirrel called with the telephone his ostrich friend.
There's another card before ostrich.
No, I don't want to give up. So how long have you got left of the episode? Because you're going to be stuck here watching me do this for...
Toothbrush. Hummingbird. Earring.
Wow, that was fast.
Okay, so I lost to Donald, a 5-year-old, who remembered all 30 words in order. So this right brain training really does seem to be working. That got me worried. You see, my 7-year-old Preston never went to any right brain training, so I decided to try the memory test on him.
Can you repeat them all back to me? Okay, what's the first one?
A mouse.
Yes.
A dress.
Yes.
A pavilion.
A chameleon, yes.
Chameleon.
Right.
A panda.
Yes, what's the next one?
And he remembered 30 flashcards in a row fairly easily. Maybe we're forgetting that children by nature have a better memory than adults.
Rocks.
Yeah, where are they? Okay, yes, using stones. Okay.
I did it!
Okay,
with 10 minutes!
Do children who don't go to such classes really lose out in the future? I decided to check back with Professor Stacey Tay. I went to one class and I had a challenge against another kid with flashcards, and he basically beat me. He was very good. What would you say about that?
Okay, so what you've actually seen is the ability to remember the flashcards, and it's a trainable skill. Everybody can learn this skill, but you need to understand there's a big question that nobody's really answered about how translatable that skill is. Just by being able to go through maybe 20-30 flashcards within 1 minute, will it help the child to be able to think better, to be able to write a composition better in the future? And that has never been shown.
So you wouldn't say that that would help the child develop a photographic memory?
It would help the child to develop flashcard memory, but it doesn't mean that it will help the child to develop good memory in the future.
Well, if flashcards aren't the key to helping a child develop long-term memory, is this the answer?
Baba. Baba.
Ashton, do you want to play some shapes?
Yes.
Yes.
Ashton is 3.
And this one is? It's a three-dimensional. Three-dimensional. It is a cube. Look at that, it's great. This is a cylinder. There you go.
And he knows basic geometry. That's something that Singaporean kids learn when they're 7 years old in primary 1.
I've got a couple more questions for you. This is a... Yes, one of those. It's right there.
And no, Ashton didn't pick this up from an enrichment class. In fact, he's never been to one before.
Wow, that was pretty amazing. How many times has Ashton actually seen those flashcards?
This is the second time that he's seen this.
And he
The last
knows...
time was about 5 months ago.
5 months ago. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty
I
extraordinary.
was actually worried. He might not remember, but fortunately he did.
It's all up there.
Yes.
What is special? Like, I can count 1 to 100. You can... you know, how far can Ashton count?
For now, I mean, what he already know, I think he can count up to 10,000 easily.
Ashton may be the kind of kid parents want. A little genius who has a Mensa certified IQ of 140, much higher than the average of 100. But Ashton was born gifted. Now what if our child isn't born super smart? Can they still be trained to be super smart?
I'm pretty sure that when I was an infant, my parents bought me toys like these. The thing is, I can't really remember. And I'm sure that most of you are like me. You can't remember much of what happened before you were 3.
Oh, it's too small for me.
So, if we don't remember much in our formative years, is there any point teaching our child anything during that time?
According to the Neurodevelopment Research Centre, there is. They've spent years studying children's brain development as part of the Gusto Birth Cohort study. One being a baby's ability to remember. One experiment involves showing this hand puppet to a 6-month-old baby and teaching them that its glove can be removed.
Jingle, 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 jingle. You still looking? Shall I look at that again? Look. Jingle, 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 jingle. Baby. Hey. Okay, shall I say bye-bye, Mr. Bunny? Bye, see you later.
2 hours later, the same baby is shown the same hand puppet with the glove on.
Okay, baby, look. What's this? What's this? Hi. You like that, huh? You like Mr. Bunny? Yeah?
Now, this simple act of the baby removing the glove, without any cues or hints, is proof that they remember how the activity works.
Can I have this? Mr. Bunny's gonna go home for a bit.
This famous experiment has been done all around the world, proving that while we may not remember being babies, we did have implicit memories back then. So even though babies cannot respond, their brains are set to learn quickly and make associations. That's why Sparkonauts was started. This class has a little bit of everything. Some memory training.
Now can you tell me, which picture do you see? Which one? Very good job.
Sensory play.
Yes, and yes, and I and you.
But the emphasis is on physical activity. Children from as young as 6 months old attend this class, which claims that exercises like these give them a learning edge.
Mommies, let's encourage them to stand up, facing you, and we're gonna lift them up, and we're gonna spin them around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Stop. We do the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put them down. Let them lie down.
Well, it looks like the parents are the ones getting the exercise, while they twirl, swing, and toss their babies into the air.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. So again, we are encouraging you to do this at least once a day to help with your balance, posture, spatial awareness, as well as proprioception. Remember, proprioception is when the body sends signal to the brain, and the brain sends it back to the body. Alright, great job. Now, peekaboo.
Elizabeth has been teaching with Sparkonauts ever since they started in 2010.
Go.
Now, can you tell me which one do you see?
Oh, this one.
Oh, awesome job. Can you give it a 5?
One of the activities that I saw where we were picking the babies up by the arms and swinging them around.
5 times, okay? So Joshua, you can go ahead. Mommy,
What is the conclusion that you have to having kids swung around?
That segment that you actually saw was actually called the infant balance exercise. In fact, we actually encourage the parents to do it 2 to 3 times a day.
What is the activity for?
We actually target the wiring of the brains. There's actually this little system in our ear, more towards the brain. It's called the vestibular system.
Yeah.
When this vestibular system is actually stimulated, it encourages the child to actually portray a better learning posture.
time to hang. Favorite portion of the class.
Apparently, monkeying around is supposed to help your child become smarter. This class believes that movements like rocking, twirling, and hanging upside down are supposed to encourage the development of the cerebellum, a part of the brain that helps us with language, attention span, social interaction, and musical ability.
So for example, the trapeze, we would tell the parents how it enhances their maturity of the lungs, which would encourage speech from the child. And at the same time, when the lungs expand, more oxygen goes in, it goes up to the brain, and it creates more capacity to learn.
After observing your class, I've noticed that there's no time for any free play at all. The kids are always doing something or learning something from you. Why is it structured like that?
Well, firstly, this helps build up routine, right? So even if there's a little ample space of free time, for example, when they start formal schooling, they don't have a sense of routine in them. So they go to school, they end up crying because they don't know what time it is to do something.
Most parents would want to cram as much as they can into the golden age of 0 to 3. And there are no lack of products or classes that promise to help you raise a smart child. From premium milk powder to swinging your child about. I'm not sure about all the claims made, but one thing I do know is babies crave stimulation. So even the simple act of playing with them, talking to them, or reading is enough to stimulate their brains.